So, I want to talk about something that I actually am planning to teach when I get settled into my new space. You see, I have a lot of stuff back there that I have to work on. Um, but this is something that I've been wanting to teach for a while, but I don't like to teach anything unless I first really experience it and walk through it and go through it and live it and all of that. But it's something that I learned from A Course in Miracles when I was going through a really dark time in my life, back in December, actually. So, you all know that I had major surgery on my pelvis and hip back in April 5th of 2019. And what I thought that surgery was supposed to do, it ended up not doing. I actually had a lot of complications with that surgery that left me wearing a brace, walking on a cane. Also, it left me having to have a special shoe that is almost 2 inches, 2 inch, well, an inch and inch and a half, almost right at almost closer to 2 inches of padding on the bottom of my shoe to make up for the different height difference in my leg, because my pelvis was damaged so bad and my hip was relocated to a different part of my pelvis. So my hip is not in the normal space. And so after surgery, I experienced no feeling in my leg, and turned out that I had nerve damage and drop foot. And I went through having a blood clot, near fatal bleeding because of the blood thinners I was on. Also, another medicine that I was on that increased the lining of my uterine wall, and so it caused near fatal bleeding with the blood thinners that I had to be hospitalized and had to get units of blood. Even the day that I had surgery, I lost a lot of blood in surgery and had to get units of blood. Last year was, I'm going to call it a bloody year for me for in a whole lot of ways. Um, but last year was also very traumatic for me. Very, very, very traumatic, with all of the things that went on with me physically, emotionally, spiritually. It was really hard and really tough. And then, right when I felt like I was making way and processing and getting through all of those things, I found that I had to have another surgery, which was a hysterectomy in November, because of so much damage that my uterus had gone through in the process, and medicines and just a lot of things. I really went through a lot last year. And so finding out that I had to have that surgery was the beginning of, I would say, as they call it in esoterics, dark night of the soul, as they call it in other places, depression. I don't really like to call it depression, more so than I was mourning the the fact that what I thought the first surgery was supposed to do didn't do. Mourning the fact that I was losing my uterus, even though I wasn't planning on having any children. I mean, I'm almost 50 years old, so I wasn't planning on having any children, but I never wanted to, have a hysterectomy for a lot of personal reasons. But I was mourning, and also I was dealing with the trauma, because it was very traumatic, the entire experience that I had last year. I dealt with insomnia, I dealt with restless leg, I dealt with nerve regeneration. My foot was actually purple and red and swollen 3 times the size because of a blood clot. And so around the time that I found out that I had to have a hysterectomy, I was just making some mental and emotional adjustments. And then all of a sudden, here comes the doctor saying, okay, you're going to have a hysterectomy. And it made more sense to have the hysterectomy than to have another type of surgery because of all of the complications that I had went through last year. And so by the time December rolled around, I had a cousin to pass away suddenly, December 3rd, very unexpected. And I think that after having the surgery in November, still in the mourning process, and not even just mourning, but processing and working through the trauma that I had experienced, the physical, the mental, emotional, and even spiritual trauma that I had been experiencing. Finding out that she passed away, I think it took me over. And so I went through that it was really dark. I'm just going to just call it what it was. It was a really dark place where I felt disconnected from everything and everybody. Even though I was physically present, I felt disconnected. Like I'm not even, just felt like I was almost having out of body experiences while trying to make myself smile, while trying to make myself be okay. And so I read in A Course in Miracles that we have to resign as our own teacher. And that was a really big revelation for me because up until that point, I had been doing everything that I had been teaching in Self Love University, everything that I had been teaching over the years in my coaching. And although a lot of it worked, it really did work, I was doing it because it was what I knew to do. And in what I knew to do, I was also handicapping or not allowing Holy Spirit to do what Holy Spirit needed to do. There's always our part, but there's also God's part. And so I was doing everything in my power and not allowing God to do everything in his power. So I decided that I was going to resign after I read that, resign as my own teacher. And that opened up a lot for me. The only thing that I feel like I could have done and should have done differently from December up until now is I probably should have stopped teaching in Self Love University. I actually was teaching out of obligation to my paying clients and students. But I should have just said, you know what? I can't do it right now and give myself the time to take the break because I gave myself time for the surgery. And even though I had the complications and it took me longer to start back teaching, I didn't give myself time. So I was really teaching in autopilot. The messages were good. The messages were powerful. The messages were still a part of my experience because I was teaching and talking from my then experiences. But it was still, it was still not truly, I'm going to say, divinely inspired. I do think they were divinely inspired, but I don't know. I don't know the word that I'm trying to use. But anyway, I said that to say that once I got the revelation of resigning as my own teacher, that's exactly what I did. I just said, you know what? I don't know how to heal myself. I don't know how to make myself better. I don't know how to pull myself through this trauma by myself. So what I did was I just stopped. I just stopped. It's almost like how you can run around cleaning a house and cleaning a house and cleaning a house, and every time you clean one section, you see that another section needs your attention and it needs to be cleaned. And then as soon as you finish that, it's like, oh, now I need to go to the kitchen. Now I need to go to the bathroom. Now I need to, dust the ceiling fan and dust the room. And it's like you're always finding something. And so I was busy always finding something to heal. It's like, it's something I got to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And so what I ended up doing was resigning. I resigned. I can't do this anymore. I can't heal thyself anymore than what I've already done. I can't clean up any more than I've already cleaned, you know? And so now I just need help. I need some help. And so when I did that, that was the beginning of the true healing phase. I say a lot that we do our part and then God does his part. Also, we do everything that's in the natural and then we allow God to add his super to our natural and cause us to supernaturally succeed. So for me, I was doing the natural, but I was missing the supernatural. So when I resigned as my own teacher, what that looked like for me was I had to surrender everything. I had to express my frustrations with God, even thinking that, why would you let me go through all of this? Why would you let me have the surgery? And then it turned out to be a bust and not be what I wanted it to be and all this other stuff. But also a part of that surrender was, or a part of the resigning was to just allow myself to feel what I was feeling, have the lessons that I was having, be myself, and be and understand and know that whatever was going on in me and on me physically, in me emotionally, mentally, on me physically, and around me in my surroundings, that I was okay and that God was handling everything. And as I began to tell myself all the time, I resign. I resign as my own teacher. I resign as my own teacher. I resign as my own teacher. And continue to surrender. What I realized and what I learned was that the more I allowed myself to pull away from the role as my own teacher, the more God, Holy Spirit, came in and healed. And so when I was feeling that distance and feeling like I was not in my body, not present, I started becoming present. I started to be uncomfortable even, because when you are your own teacher for so long, when you do the work by yourself for so long, when someone else comes in to do the work, when someone else comes in to clean the house, you almost feel uncomfortable and even, I'm going to say, embarrassed, because how did I let myself get to this place, But I realized that everything is a part of our human experience. And because it's a part of our human experience, we have a choice. We have a choice. And the choice is I'm either going to do this by myself or I'm going to allow someone else to help me. Now, that someone else could definitely be other people, but that someone else should definitely include God. Okay. And so that's something that I'm working on. One of the things, once I unpack and get settled and all of this stuff, I got to, number one, get back into my readings. I'm actually doing pray a psalm a day with a group of people here on Facebook, some of my friends and family. Pray a psalm a day. But I'm doing that. But I got to get back into my personal studies that I have actually neglected for a while for a lot of personal reasons. Um, so once I get back into my studies and really talk out and walk out the processes that I've taken over the last 6 months. It'll be 6 months here, just this month actually. December, 7 months, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. So it's 6 months that I've been on this new journey of just being resigned. Resigning as my own teacher. My physical energy has been restored. I was physically depleted. Um, my emotional and mental vitality has been restored. Um, I'm just in a better place in my life, period, just overall. And I also realized too that the second I let go of the want to for a lot of things, they all started appearing in my life. Wanting, I want more money. I want to give. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to have this. I want to have that. And the second I just let go, they all just started appearing in my life. Because I realized a long time ago that when we're wanting something, we are saying that we don't have it. But when you desire something, that is when you begin to align with, because you realize it's already mine. I just need to align with it. So now when I find myself saying, oh, I want, and I was like, no, I don't want it. I align with it so that it can manifest in my life. So that was um, a part of my resigning as my own teacher, was to stop wanting and move into the desire. And the desire for me has been and is the aligning. I align with the types of relationships that I want to have. I align with the type of life that I want to live. And then the moment I make the alignment in my mind and in my heart, then that's when I start seeing it come to fruition in my life. This video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but this is just really this is the beginning of I think resigning as your own teacher is the beginning of true healing, the true healing process. Not only do we need to resign as our own teacher, we need to resign as our own healer. We need to resign as our own advisor. We need to resign as our own counselor. We try to do so much for ourselves. We need to resign as our own providers, and really give our entire lives to God and ask, Spirit, what do you have to say? Spirit, what do you want me to do today? Spirit, I surrender this. Show me the way that I should go. Show me what I should do. Show me what I should have even. And when we move into that space, I believe that that's where the true healing is. It's not in us pushing, trying, but it's truly in our allowing, that allowance and surrendering. Because surrendering means I trust God. And as I trust, I allow God to do what's necessary in my life. So I just wanted to share that because it's important that we know that we don't have to be everything, even to ourselves.